Hi, I'm Zainab Iftikhar. I'm a PhD student from Brown University, and today I'm presenting our work, Together But Not Together Evaluating Typing Indicators for Interaction Rich Communication, on the behalf of my co authors, Humang Ma and Jeff Huang. I want you to take a moment and consider how often you text daily, from personal messages to team based communication to relationship maintenance. Now, most of our social media is text based. We use text for community driven discussions. Meanwhile, recently, texts have emerged as a venue for therapeutic communication. Needless to say, texts have become an integral part of modern communication, owing to their asynchronous nature, which demands less time from people, allowing them to manage their self presentations in a less intimidating fashion. However, texts are still unimodal, lacking social presence, which makes them a lean mode of interaction. What do I mean when I say lean or rich interaction? Reflecting back in the 1980s, Daft and Lengel posed a media richness theory, stating that the effectiveness of communication is influenced by the richness of the medium used. Since different media vary in their ability to convey information, and certain media, such as face to face interactions, are more effective for conveying complex messages. In short, MRT defines richness as the medium's ability to convey multiple cues, its increased social presence, and its ability to provide immediate feedback, placing numerical and email reports on the lower end of the richness spectrum, and video and face to face interactions on the richer end of the scale. To compensate for the leanness of the text, people use multiple approaches. For instance, repetitive letters can convey emphasis, while punctuation can show excitement or anger. Similarly, there's a rise in emojis and stickers for emotional disclosure in our textual interactions. However, these approaches still lack social presence, calling for system driven approaches like typing indicators and awareness mechanisms. Effective as they may be, awareness mechanisms lack synchronous communication and can often miss the in between during message composition. Lastly, current work has explored restricted synchronous communication that requires users to be present in an application to be able to text each other. Unfortunately, this restricted synchronicity has been reported to lead to forced interactions. In this study, we explored how to go from a lean mode of texting to a richer interaction for higher social presence and improved collaboration without restricting the asynchronous nature of messaging. Specifically, we designed and implemented text based typing indicators by incorporating characteristics as defined by media richness theory and explored user subjective task load, interpreting these findings in the context of user experiences. We set up the study design by comparing four typing indicators. The first indicator, or the lack thereof, is called the no indicator interface and was inspired by the current SMS design where no cues are shown to the user while the sender is writing the response. Next, the is typing indicator was inspired by the instant messaging applications to let the user know that the sender is crafting their message. Lastly, we designed two new typing indicators for a hierarchy of richness. The mass typing indicator masked each key pressed by the sender, where the user could only see the message once the sender pressed send. Whereas for live typing, every key pressed by the sender was instantly seen by the recipient. Both indicators allowed users to communicate without interrupting each other's flow. These design considerations were guided by media richness theory's characteristics of immediate feedback, personalization, and multiple cues. Drawing the analogy from face to face interactions, immediate feedback breaks down to what is the person saying in real time, which in texting is translated to what is the person typing as they are typing. For this, we displayed each key pressed by the sender. Next, personalization refers to what is the person's speech cadence. To upkeep the asynchronous nature of texting without incorporating visual and audio cues, this translates to how the person is crafting their response. We displayed keystrokes that were typed to reflect typing speed. Lastly, multiple cues in face to face interactions refer to what cues there are for the recipient, allowing users to follow another person's train of thought. This characteristic was inherent in our design with backspaces, a cue for the recipient that the sender is editing their response, or pauses implying that the sender is thinking. After designing our typing indicator interfaces, we recruited a sample of 24 participants and adopted a remote study to evaluate and compare the four indicators by using four different survival tasks. Each participant interacted with another participant on one indicator typing interface and solved a surviving task. These tasks consisted of survival based scenarios with 7 items where participants had to agree on the top 3 for their survival. These tasks were selected because they foster collaboration, engagement, and negotiation. At the end of each interaction, participants were paired with different partners to reduce familiarity. The study was conducted in 3 rounds. For each round, the ordering of the interface and survival tasks was changed to reduce ordering bias. At the end of each interaction, participants filled out a NASA TLX for each indicator, and at the end of all 4 interactions, we conducted a semi structured interview to gather participants' insights for each interaction. Analyzing the NASA TLX ratings across all indicators, we found that richer indicators have a reduced cognitive load as compared to no indicator across all dimensions of NASA TLX. For instance, effort required to complete the task over no indicator was 106% higher than live typing. This was reflected in user interviews where one participant reported that I would literally second guess and just be in my own head. The no indicator interface played on my mind. And the one with no indicator was so hard. I couldn't even see what was up with my partner. Are they typing? Listening? Do I type more? Similarly, stress levels increased by 87% when interacting on the no indicator interface as compared to live typing, where participants reported that the no indicator was isolated and limited me in my communication. Lastly, participants were 56% less frustrated when interacting on the live typing interface as compared to no indicator. This was also evident since participants reported it was so frustrating because sometimes I thought they disconnected, but they didn't and just took a minute to type. And I just needed to know that someone is working with me on the task. Next, we analyzed participants' qualitative responses to understand user experience with the typing indicators. We found that the immediate feedback, personalization, and multiple cues embedded in live typing led to a heightened co presence with the medium, where one participant said, it was like face to face communication because I could see them making mistakes. One time they were testing if their keyboard was working, and I felt that we both were testing the keys together. This heightened co presence was reflected in multiple themes associated with live typing. For instance, the indicator was validating, encouraged active listening, was highly communicative, and fostered connection. 16 participants stated that the heightened co presence of the indicator would have been helpful in times when they felt lonely and needed to connect for help, where one participant said, in situations where someone is having a mental crisis, live typing can give immediate affirmation or validation. However, this was not one size fits all. Where most participants found live typing to be validating, some felt raw and exposed. Richer experience turned into walking on eggshells, and collaborative turned into hesitancy to type. While most participants felt a connection, some reported that the indicator was privacy invasive, showing a wide range of spectrum with the indicators. Now we highlight some of the implications of these results. First, we found that interaction rich typing indicators have a reduced cognitive load, which implies that messaging might not be as lean as it's reported, and future work needs to revisit media richness theory and its definition of lead media through the lens of interaction rich typing indicators. Through this study, we also found that interaction rich typing indicators validate and encourage active listening, communication, and connection. These components are highly effective for therapeutic sessions, and there might be room for richer interactions to be embedded in text based therapeutic communication. Our study was composed of a problem solving scenario that can be reflective of a problem solving therapeutic setting like cognitive behavioral therapy, where users are geared to think of negative events in a problem solving way. Lastly, interaction rich typing indicators invoked conflicting feelings and experiences among participants, implying that these typing indicators might have a validating or a harsher impact on relationship dynamics. While prior work has found this negotiation on colors and themes in chats, leading to fun interactive negotiations. Negotiating on live typing might lead to harsher decisions, which calls for designing for personalized expressions and code customizations. In summary, in this study, we designed two new typing indicator interfaces and compared them in a task based study. We found that interaction rich typing indicators have a reduced cognitive load, heightened co presence, and conflicting experiences. The libraries are available for public using the said link. Thank you, and I will take any questions you have now.